Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Gary Common Council's Planning and Development Committee meeting. I am Chairman of Planning and Development, Councilman Darren Washington at large. Here today, we have Councilman at large Kenneth Wessington at large, Councilman at large Miles Tolliver, followed up with 2nd District Councilman Dwayne Halliburton, 6th District Councilman Dwight Williams, 5th District Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell, 3rd District, mighty 3rd District Councilwoman Mary Brown. How you doing this evening? And our awesome Marion Ivy representing the 4th District. Today we have 7 items. The first on our list today, we have Council pending Ordinance 2025-117, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Uses, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinance for the City of Gary to establish 23rd and Grant Commerce Center sponsored by Zoning Department Petitioner Kyle Glasscott, 2156 North Hostel, Chicago, Illinois. Ms. Sharp, you can come up to the microphone. You don't have to sit in the back of the... How you doing today?
Good, sir. Thank you. Good
Right. We
evening,
also have our
councilors.
petitioner here, so as she finished, the petitioner can come up.
Councilors, at the full council meeting, you had asked the developer and myself to sit down and go through the code to address some of the concerns expressed in the development rezone requirements in our planning commission packet. We did that. We went through and have revised in front of you. You hopefully have a red line. I'm happy to go through those red lines. Also, you have an amended ordinance. The 2 additions in the ordinance are sections 5 and section 6. The first, section 5, is a sequence of deliverables, so to speak, for the developer, meaning demolition should happen within 8 months, development must commence in 18 months, and the primary and supporting infrastructure shall be completed within 3 years of the passage of this ordinance. What that does is makes this ordinance null and void if this development does not go forward. Then also in this ordinance speaks to the concern regarding the location of truck traffic. So there's a clause in here stating that trucks must enter and exit off of 22nd Avenue and are not permitted on 23rd. And Chairman, if you would like for me to walk through the red line document, I'm happy to, and hit the highlights.
Yes, because at the council meeting, you had some concerns about specific items, so we want to make sure that you're able to address those concerns and what the petitioner agreed with.
Okay. The revised planned unit development ordinance clarifies several of the concerns stated in the staff report, as I mentioned, but also hopefully addresses some of the public input that we heard and makes it a little bit more concise as well. So the first portion of the ordinance deals with definitions. We've added a section describing what advanced manufacturing is and what it is not. It does not include advanced materials, which is developing and utilizing high-performance materials like advanced alloys and composites. We also dealt with just cleaning out some of the definitions because they may be in conflict with the original zoning code of Gary, and we didn't want to create conflicts now that we have an underlying zoning district, which is in section 3.3. That was point number 1 in one of my concerns. So there is now an underlying zoning district of M1, and that any base regulation not referred to in this PUD shall point back to the M1 zoning classification. So those things not addressed here, like I mentioned before, odor nuisance, explosive, things like setbacks, those are all in the M1 statute. They're not written in here. Section 4.2 are the general requirements of the PUD. we started out by adding specific documents that needed to be turned into the Site Plan Review Committee, which is a committee that is hosted by all of the department heads that deal with development. We meet the first Thursday afternoon. We've asked for a list of specific things that need to be turned into that Site Plan Review Committee so that we can adequately review and make sure those documents and their intent is to comply with this ordinance. Things like site plan, streetscape program, a traffic study, photometrics, landscape plan, and a development signage plan. Section 4.4, page 14, is the section that deals with permitted uses. We have struck a couple of the permitted uses. One of the permitted uses struck was shipping/trucking terminals. We have also struck the option for construction companies to have outdoor storage materials or equipment. Page 15, section 4.42 is prohibited uses. They had a list of prohibited uses. We've added a couple. We've added storage containers, railroad containers, and/or trucking container parking. And in the definitions, we've also clarified that trucks, container storage is containers on wheels. It is not container stacking. So that is a prohibited use, container stacking. Large equipment, outdoor storage, pallet factory, tire shop, automobile type things, and a data center. We then move into section 5, which are the development standards. Right off the bat, we worked with the developer's architect and asked for refined drawings and more detailed drawings to include in the exhibits of this PUD. As a result, we'll be able to enforce what is shown in this document and what the permit drawings come in. So those documents, character exhibits, will be a part of this PUD and will be able to be enforced. We then discussed building height at the council meeting. This has a maximum building height of 50 feet and of the primary structure. Any accessory structure shall not exceed 22.5 feet, which is similar to the residential character in the neighborhood. And then we've also addressed the location of any rooftop mechanical systems that needs to be located in a certain area on the roof, so it's not visible from the street. And they have shown that an area on their site plan as well of where those can be. We struck a couple sections. We struck the environmental section. Later on, you'll see I struck some utility issues, primarily because we have full citywide ordinances that deal with environmental issues, and we did not want to express any conflict between those. We struck some parking regulations, primarily because what you will approve is a document that shows how many parking spaces are in this development. So again, we have a drawing that shows exactly what will be built. Section 5.6, page 19, talks about the architectural design guidelines, and again, just reiterates the fact that the design intent needs to conform with the exhibits. We've also listed a series of unacceptable, not allowed building materials, like they can't build a concrete block building or a plywood building, unfinished concrete. They can't use plastics, vinyl siding, things like that. We've also added language where all facades of the same pattern and materials must be around all sides, and that all pedestrian entrances shall be covered. We also allowed for large expanses of glass, and that decorative architectural lighting should be required. This is shown on their renderings. We're just putting it in the words here. They mentioned roof slope and height associated with that roof slope, so we've added some language around roof design and that slope. Then In the PUD, in addition to your ordinance, we've added language that truck traffic on page 21 and deliveries are not allowed on 23rd Street. Then the next section, 5.8, is landscape and lighting. We've added a section here that builds out a 50-foot wide buffer yard around the property when it abuts residential, and it talks about the height of a mound and the placing of landscape that should, and the size of the initial planting of those landscapes. Then we've strengthened the lighting section where there'll be no foot candle spill, which is when this light does not spill into the hallway because there's a door there. And so lights can be designed so that they're not spilling into another area. So their light will only stay on their property. And then the final section, 5.9, signs. We've refined this a little bit to, rather than it saying the final site sign plan will be submitted to the site plan review committee, we've asked for the architect, which they did, include the area of where the signs are going to be located on the building and the size of that. So again, we'll be able to look to those drawings to say, all right, does this sign conform or not? And then limiting the signs to no pole signs, no electronic signage. Any signs on the facade shall have reverse channel lighting, and that the maximum monumental sign that theoretically would be on 23rd would be a limited of 8 foot. And then in your drawing, we have stronger architectural drawings. The petitioner is here, and I'll let them go through that.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Petitioner, would you like to come up and present it? Before we go, we have to acknowledge former city councilman, and now he's a county councilman, Ron Brewer. Ron, I know you miss us. You're welcome to come and sit along the wall here and hang out with us if you want. Come on. No, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. We know you miss us. Come on. We miss you too. Attorney Weezer, how are you doing?
Doing good. That wasn't what Ron was saying a few minutes ago, but I'll let that go.
The floor is yours.
He's loving the county. Good evening, everyone. Jim Weezer, the attorney for the project, and be shortly followed by Carl to go over those renderings that Corey was talking about. I'd just like to say this, first of all, and sincerely mean this, we thank all of you for the time and the effort that you've put into this and the thought that you've put into this project, especially Corey and Marco, who I was working with on the ordinance till about 4:15 today. But Corey's done a phenomenal job, and I believe that we've responded and as best we can, and in my opinion, with the exception of possibly, and I'm not even saying, there may be a few minor changes to make, but they're not substantive. The substantive changes have been, in my opinion, worked out and agreed to, and Carl's will talk to that. But as Corey pointed out to you, there was a variety of items, and that's why I'm glad, Mr. Chairman, that you asked that she step up and talk about that. That's really important and probably saves us a lot of time having to do it, because she did it very succinctly and very accurately. And as a result, we believe that as to those items, those technical items that Corey was concerned about and has listed in her staff report have been addressed. And along together with a number of other things that we think further enhance and improve the project and address concerns not only that the council's demonstrated, but concerns that the remonstrators demonstrated. And we've done our level best. Everybody's worked in good faith and put in a lot of hours to get this accomplished. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Carl, who will go through those items that Corey finished her comments with, so he can show you exactly what has been done in regards to the design, the architectural things, and all of that. And as far as my legal review of the ordinance, Marco and I are pretty much in lockstep on it. So we're certainly prepared to hopefully go to the council at your next meeting for this matter. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Carl.
Thank you, Attorney Weezer.
Good evening, council. Carl Heitman, Heitman Architects, 555 Pierce. We do have revised drawings. I think they were put in your packet. Following last week's meeting, we had a very good collaborative meeting with Corey on Thursday, and we went over a lot of the issues that she's already mentioned. I might walk through the drawings for you to just point out what we've changed. So if you would put up the slides. Let's move down to the first drawing. These slides you've seen were in the earlier presentations. Next. So the look of the building has not changed. We proposed a precast building that's stained with stone veneer and also phenolic wood panels that's that nice warm brown color. We also have canopies. This drawing should be in your packet. It is conforming with M1 zoning, so we went over a lot of the substantive issues on that. And we've got a chart in the upper left of that page that shows you what the M zone zoning requirements are, and it shows what we're providing. So in all cases, we're meeting the minimums and we're exceeding the minimums requested. So you'll see that form with parking counts, areas, setbacks, et cetera. One of the major changes that occurred in Thursday's meeting, which was a very positive one, and it was Corey's suggestion, we had emergency fire lanes on the east and west sides of the building, which created a 24-foot drive that was only allowed for emergency vehicles. And Corey pointed out we have alleyways that are just outside of our property line that serve the same function. Those are fire lanes. So it allowed us to create a much larger landscape buffer on both sides of the building towards the residential. So we're encircling the site with a rubber-coated black chain link fence for security. And then we've added a second layer of fencing, which would be solid fencing at 8 foot around the storage yard. If you go back a slide, it shows that. So when we deleted our 2 fire lanes, increased the setbacks, we also decreased the storage area in the back, and we've encircled it with a 8 foot high solid wood fence. The site hasn't changed at all. Trucks are limited to 22nd Street, nowhere else. 23rd is for automobile access. In this drawing on your package, you'll see those green arrows on the bottom. Those are the alleyways and the streets in the neighborhood. And we've created a landscape screen as you're, and you'll see one of the images as you're on the alley or the street. When you look towards the building, you see a nice lush landscape screen. So that's primary the changes. You'll see in this illustration, we did put into the packet the sign request. We were looking for a monument sign that one's, I think, 7 foot tall by 10 foot wide. It has locations for a building name, building address, plus 4 tenant names. We've also located signage on the building that south face above the tenant entries that would identify tenants. And as Corey pointed out, we'd use internally channel letters. This is a rendering from the air showing you that landscape buffer, which I think greatly enhances the property. Next slide. This is the same, the view from the west, seeing the buffer on the west. So this gives you a pretty good idea. You'll see that the alleys and the streets are located south of the building, and we've lined up our screen walls and landscaping to address the neighborhood fabric. Next slide. And we've added a lot more views in this presentation, so you kind of see what the intent is. Next slide. Go full view. Next slide. Another view. This, you see the undulating solid fencing that lines with the streets and alleys, and you've got an open area that's got decorative wrought iron fencing. Next slide. This is that view that you'd see down the street. So you're looking into an 8-foot high solid wood fence with some mature landscape trees in front and the hedgerow. And I think that's the last slide. We do have in the packet the actual drawings. It shows all 4 elevations of the building, the sign elevations, the areas of where we'd put signs on the buildings. And our site plan also showed the locations for the rooftop equipment. We actually gave you a building height, I think it's 42 foot 10 to the top of the precast. So as we talked about roof slopes, as Corey mentioned, we looked at the exact height of the roof. So we were asking for 50 before, we're at 42 foot 10. Any rooftop equipment, I think, will be limited to 8 foot high. It'll be pushed back at least 40 foot from the facade. And it's located on the roof in those dashed areas. So I don't think the equipment will be visible from the streets. And if it is, once we identify the equipment, we'll provide screening if need be. So I think it was a very positive week, and hopefully we addressed all of Corey's concerns. I think we had 6 points at the last meeting, and I think we've addressed all of them. So I think it's been an improvement, and we look forward to getting it built.
Thank you. Questions by council members? Councilman Williams?
Thank you. I just have one concern. I did go see the property a couple times this week. The rear of the property, where the housing, the neighborhood's just a little bit more alive, it's more active, you have more homes in the back. Is that where some of the buffer is gonna be at?
Well, there's a buffer all the way around the property, but we've got the large buffers on the east and west on the,
Well, hold up a minute. Can you pull the picture back up again? So Mr. Williams can pinpoint exactly where he's talking about.
so north is up. You can go to the color picture.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right. What are you talking about,
There we go.
Councilman
So
Williams?
plan north is straight up on the page. On the right and the left is where we've increased those buffers. And on both sides, on the right is an alleyway that backs up to residential.
Right,
And on the left is an alleyway that backs up to some commercial properties.
right, okay. Okay, that's good.
Councilman Westington?
Yeah, thank you so much. Excellent job with adhering to the suggestions of Ms. Sharp. So I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question. When it comes to EPA guidelines, I know Ms. Sharp, you discussed M1 zoning and those stipulations. Just if you have by chance, what do those EPA guidelines look like for M1 zoning?
I think that, as Ms. Sharp explained there, she's got, I think, overriding the M1 zoning with more stringent requirements. And we don't have any issue with complying with exactly what she wants. We don't anticipate there will be any tenants that would require anything more stringent than that.
No, thank you for that. And that goes to my next question. When it comes to us as a council, do we have any say in regards to limitations or acceptance of potential tenant holders? Was that written in somehow, what we will limit the usage to?
Ms. Sharp, can you come to the microphone?
Yes, the permitted uses within the tenants, so to speak, are limited to page 14, section 4.4, where we list out maybe a dozen specific uses. Now, these, when we are reviewing land uses and permitted uses, these are guidelines for us. There might be a little wiggle room, but we're trying to express the intent. So they are limited to these uses.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I just, for the constituents' sake, just wanted to clarify the hard work that you put in. It's not truck stop, and it's not a distribution hub. So I just wanted to clarify that. So thank you. I do appreciate all the work you put in.
Thank you, Councilman Westington. Any other council persons? Any questions? Councilman Ivy?
Councilman Washington, I just wanted to know about the 72 trailer parking spaces. More, information on that.
Ms. Sharp, you want to come back up?
The 72 trailer spaces are located on the north side of the property, so that aligns with them having to access the property off of 23rd, and then they would park there on the north. In their rendering, they show a screen around those parking spaces. And then we've also defined what truck staging is in the definitions.
Thank you.
Yeah, page 10, trailer staging, which is how they've identified it on their drawing. So trailer staging shall be construed to be the parking of trailers on wheels, or a cab of a semi or truck on the same site, the consecutive.
Does that mean that there's enough spaces for 72 trailers? So is that overnight or a long period of time where the trailers will be parked there? Or will there be constant in and out?
I'll let the developers speak to the rapid pace of movement of trailers. In the trailer staging definition, it does go on to say, on the same site for a consecutive time period in excess of 48 hours.
Can
So,
you say that for me one more time?
so trailer staging is construed to be a parking of a trailer on wheels and/or cab of a semi-trailer / truck on the same site for a consecutive time period in excess of 48 hours.
And what page did you read that from?
Page 10.
Thank you.
Any more questions, Ms. Ivy?
He was gonna speak
Yeah.
about the trailers.
I have very little to add, except the M1 zoning calls for a solid fencing 8 foot around, screen around the storage areas, which we've complied with.
Did that answer my question? Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Ivy, the question you just posed about the traffic wise, I think they're basically saying there won't be any semi trucks overstaying more than 48 hours, so 2 days.
Thank you.
Any other council members, any questions? If not, we have public comment. If you have any more questions, Councilman, you can chime in after public comment. Ms. Carolyn McCready. And we reminded Ms. Linda Barnes Caldwell, you have 2 minutes to make your comments.
That's why I wrote this down, because I have a tendency to go over, as you know. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight, I would like to talk about a word we don't hear often enough when discussing potential developers and their proposed projects. That word is vetting. We have had bad, disastrous, and sometimes even scandalous results when we don't seriously vet those who want to come to Gary promising what we want to hear, namely jobs and revenue. Over the last decade, I can think of 3 projects that, if properly vetted, would not have made it off the starting block. Those projects include Maya Energy, who wanted to store and burn garbage at 35th and Chase, Acumen, who wanted to make Gary the cell phone capital of the United States, and Fulcrum, whose goal was to burn garbage on our lakefront to create biofuel for the airline industry. But what happened when they were never properly vetted? Well, Maya has yet to turn a shovel full of dirt. Acumen absconded with our deed to the Genesis Center and had to be tracked down in order to get it back, and Fulcrum imploded because it could never do what it claimed it would. No jobs and no revenue, period. Similarly, the project before us tonight has yet to be vetted in terms of the developer's history in construction, their financial status, their plans to hire locally to build the proposed facility, and to create jobs and revenue. Negative environmental outcomes have never been discussed, although every council person has received something from our attorney that details very specifically information that you need to have about these people. Yet we are here tonight considering them and their project created for manufacturing, light assembly, and trucking in the middle of a neighborhood that people clearly do not want. When the PUD is prettied up, it is still the same project. Some would call this putting lipstick on a pig. This is very
Ms.
risky
McCready. Your time
business
is up.
and not a good look for the city. Gary is on the move and
Ms. McCready, thank you. You see,
Thank you, Ms. McCready. Next, Gary Lee. Can you turn your microphone on the screen? Thank you, sir.
I'm Gary Lee. I'm a 5th District resident. At the last meeting of the Planning Commission, I told you folks, this is a sales pitch. These guys are making a sales pitch to you. I'd like to point out some things that Mr. Heitman said. He said one of the pillars of his presentation was jobs. And he said 250 jobs, 250 parking spaces, 250 jobs. I say that's probably a rosy estimate. And even if we accept that 250 number, those 250 people are going to be commuters coming in from out of the city of Gary, not residents of the city of Gary. Also, Mr. Heitman stated that there were more members of the public who spoke in favor of their proposal than against at the last committee meeting. My takeaway was that my fellow residents from the city of Gary said, if you bring jobs to the people of Gary, I will support this project. What they're selling you is a building. They have no idea who's going to come in and occupy that building. They don't know what's going to go on at that building because they have no idea. They're trying to hoodwink you and all of the people of Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Jeannie Riddleham? I might be saying the name wrong. Janine Riddleham, is it? And can you say your full name for me so I won't mess it up? Because I know you'll be back.
You knew it by now. It's Jenny Rudderham.
Redderham. Thank you, Miss Redderham.
Okay. So I'm glad to see that we've done some things on the city's end to have a stronger PUD. That should always be our starting point. But I still think there are some things that are lacking in this process, and I urge the council to take these additional steps. As Ms. McCready mentioned, we haven't actually had the developer vetted. The architect seems solid. The presentation very much focused on architectural renderings, but we have very little background about these developers. What history of success do they have, specifically in Indiana or Gary? And I think we need to hear more information about that, and also why we haven't seen many good faith efforts from them to clean up and secure the property as it is. Second thing we haven't really heard, as Mr. Lee pointed out, is the end use. This is still a big mystery. A striking thing in the presentation, they really focused on these two developments where the end user was clearly identified, was part of the design and development process, and so they made sure with that method facility, they made sure it was LEED certified. I didn't hear anything in the presentation previously or today that our facility would be LEED certified. That presentation also talked about how the method founder made a point of hiring local people, like 500 jobs. Again, this presentation and this project isn't promising that. There's no community development agreement, and partly it's lacking because there's no end developer identified. I think we need to strengthen that significantly before we move forward. And my final point is that we are still lacking community input. You know, they talk about community input in these other projects. It hasn't happened here. People have come out to 3 plan commission meetings because they failed to properly publicly notice. They canceled the meeting with the people from the neighborhood, and those people are so frustrated and heartbroken, and they're a lifelong resident. And they
Thank you. Ms. Doreen Carey? Ms. Carey? You turn your microphone on. Thank you.
Thank you, council members, for this opportunity to speak again on this issue. I'm still opposed to this planned unit development for the former Beckton School property. As a Gary resident, and I do live in the First District, and a member of Gary Advocates for Responsible Development, I am concerned about sustainable economic development in the city. However, the rezoning of the former Beckman School property without some aspect of community service or benefit will not only put the Beckman residential neighborhood at risk, but it will create a precedent for developers to create their own zoning for former school properties throughout the city of Gary that could be detrimental to neighborhood health, safety, and viability. An example of the problems associated with the planned unit development where non-residential development has adversely affected surrounding residential neighborhoods is the Jurek Trucking Company, PUD, that was allowed at the former Edison School property on West Fifth Avenue. Jurek promised several community protection measures, and those promises were broken. Trucks are backed up to residential front yards, scores of stacked containers are all over the yard, and there is no follow-through on other promises to landscape and screen trucking operations from the neighborhood residents. Jurek is currently cited for 10 zoning violations and is scheduled to appear in city court on April 22nd. I would suggest that it would still be beneficial to deny this PUD and wait while the city administration works to update the city comprehensive plan and the code of zoning ordinances. There is a plan in place for the month of May for a public review and input opportunity for the type of development.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carey. Do you have any questions by any other of my fellow council members at this time? Councilman Tolliver?
Yeah, just a quick question. They're saying that the trucks are going down 22nd Avenue. If those trucks going down, I know they're only there for 48 hours, would they be able to help with making sure that the streets are going to be repaired with them going up and down 22nd Avenue? Is that in here at all? Because I'm just thinking about people that have to drive down 22nd Avenue, and we also know that our streets are in bad condition. So we're talking about trucks going back and forth. Are you all going to help fix those streets, especially West 22nd Avenue? Can anybody elaborate or tell me?
Could you turn your microphone on?
Thank you all for having me this evening. I think that is something that we could agree to, or put some language in the PUD. We did a truck impact study that went out and looked at the surrounding roads on 22nd, 23rd.
Okay. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilwoman Barnes-Caldwell, you got a comment? Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, not to prolong. There are other things, because when we have a numerous amount of trucks driving through the city of Gary, we have to be very cautious about what we put on a private organization or a company, knowing that trucks go throughout this entire community, and there's something called a wheel tax and other things that's used for roads. So we need to be careful in that language regarding what stipulations we put in. So any more questions by council members?
Chairman?
Yes.
I was just thinking about when I was a state trooper. We don't have motor care units, but I think there's a law that each trucks that drives the roadway has to pay some type of fee for that. So that's something that we could look into as well with motor care, with state police.
Well, I'm pretty sure if there's a law for it, it applies to any truck, regardless, in the city. So this will be taken up at the council meeting on the 15th, next Tuesday of April. So at this time, for the petitioners coming out, thank you. And for Ms. Sharp, thank you for a job well done in working with the petitioners. Next item we have listed is CPO 2025-20, an ordinance reviewing a special use permit for property located at 917 Vermillion Street to be used as a short-term rental property by petitioner Margaret Spann, sponsored by Gary Zoning Department. Petitioner Margaret Spann. Is Ms. Spann here? Okay, before you come up, who is going to articulate on behalf of the administration? Come on, Ms. Sharp. Yep. And Ms. Sharp, while we have Ms. Spann here, we're gonna go immediately. She has three ordinances, 25-17-20, and also 25-24. So we'll deal with all three of yours at this particular point. And as we leave the council chambers, can we move out quietly, please? Thank you. You have the floor, Ms. Sharp.
Chairman, all the remaining petitions in front of you, including the ones from Ms. Spann, are non-owner occupied special use requests for short-term rentals. The ordinances were presented, or the petitions were presented to the Plan Commission. They were passed to you with a favorable recommendation, all of them were, because each of the properties meet the requirements listed in the ordinance of the special use permit. And those requirements are also included in your ordinance for adoption. So Ms. Spann has three, and then there's a couple other petitioners here as well.
Okay. Ms. Spann, you have the floor. You have any additional comments you would like to make before the council members, before questions go out?
Not really, unless you've got any questions, other than we purchased all three of these properties while they were abandoned, and have rehabbed them and have enjoyed being part of the community, and have had great success in return clients. I have packets with our reviews, and we're all premier host, and we'd like to continue.
And we thank you for investing in the city by rehabilitation of properties.
Thank you.
Council members, are there any questions by any council members at this time? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have CPO 2025-22, an ordinance reviewing special use permit for property located at 1101 North St. Joseph Avenue to be used as a short-term rental property by petitioner John Schwark. Is Mr. Schwark here?
Councilors, this is a petition for short-term rental at 1101 St. Joseph. And after reviewing their petition, again, the Plan Commission is recommending a favorable approval.
Was Mr. Schwark told that he needed to be at this committee hearing?
Yes, all of the petitioners were aware. So I'm.
Okay, and I just want to say it clearly that petitioners are to come to the committee meetings in case there are questions that are asked by council members. So make sure they are here at the meeting next Tuesday, please.
Yes, sir.
Or you can make sure they're there. Remind them
I will,
to be here next
Tuesday. I will
Tuesday.
email all of them and let them know. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. 2025, CPO 2025-23, ordinance reviewing special use permit for property located at 1924 Hoovie Place to be used as a short-term rental by petitioner Wayne Young. Mr. Young, you are here.
Yes, I am.
Are you Mr. Young?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Come up to the mic and speak after Ms. Corey Sharp provides that. Thank you for respecting the council and being here this evening.
Again, this is a short-term rental located at 1945 Hovey Place. I believe actually this might be one of the only rentals outside of the Miller neighborhood that is on Airbnb. 1924, thank you. During the Plan Commission presentations, we had several neighbors that got up and spoke in favor of this project, and as a result of my recommendation and public input, it is a favorable recommendation towards you. And I will commend Mr. Young for being here because he's actually out of state.
Mr. Young, come up, and you have any comments you would like to provide? Where are you from?
I'm from Gary, born and raised here, and the house is actually our family home. So my name is Wayne Young. Thanks for your time. My brother and I own Johnny and Louise Accommodations, and that's my mother and father's name. They bought the house in '55. It's the only house we've ever lived in. In addition, they raised my brother and I there and our sisters. And my brother and I live out of town. We all live out of town now. But when my mom passed, we decided to make sure the house stay in good shape because there's now only 4 houses on our block. I think 5 houses on our block. All the rest of them are torn down now. So one of my neighbors is actually the site manager, and he's here today. And all of our immediate neighbors, which are only 2 of them now, like I said, there's only 5 of us left on the block. They all support our maintaining the house as a short-term rental.
Where are you living at now?
The district.
Okay. How are you going to ensure that your properties are properly maintained?
Oh, we already making sure they're properly maintained. The site manager is my neighbor.
Okay.
He's been knowing me since before I was born. Okay. So he and my other neighbor also participates in making sure things are okay. But you know, this is the virtual system. We're in a virtual world. And Airbnb is very virtual too. So we have cameras, and we have one of the things that I love what we have in the house too is a noise sensor. A noise sensor and a smoke sensor. It tells and occupancy sensor. The sensor can tell approximately how many people are in the house. It can tell if people are smoking, and it can tell the noise is too high. And we all get alerts. My brother gets in Jacksonville, he gets an alert. His daughter gets an alert. I get an alert. He gets an alert.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any questions from council members?
Chairman,
Yes,
that
Ms. Oliverton?
is that just south of the church on 19th and is that 19th and Hovey?
Yeah, it's between Concord and Terrytown, between Burr and Clark. As we say, we on Gary's wonderfully wooded west side.
Right.
So we're in District 3.
Okay.
Thank you. We have our first district councilwoman and council chairwoman, Ms. Lori Latham. Welcome. Do you have any questions, Madam Chairwoman? Thank you. Any other questions by council members? Thank you, Mr. Young.
Okay.
And the last item on the agenda is CPO 2025-25, an ordinance reviewing a special use permit for a property located at 8045 Oak Avenue, Gary, to be used as a short-term rental property by petitioner Scott Schindenberg. Ms. Sharp, can you come up? And is Mr. Schindenberg here?
No, sir.
Okay.
This is, again, is a short-term rental. It is coming to you with a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Mr. Schindenberg was at the Plan Commission meeting. However, he's not here tonight. But again, we are recommending favorable recommendation.
Okay. Any questions by council members? Thank you.
Councilman, I just need these
Ms. Linda Brown and Carl Will.
petitioners, if they're not here next week, we are not moving forward.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at, you know, how important is it to you? Some show up, some don't show up.
It will go forward for a vote. It will not go back to committee, so council people will vote their conscience. Other than that, Madam Chair, do you have anything before we close? My attorney? No. Okay. Thank you. These items will be on the agenda April 15th at our next common council meeting at 6 p.m., along with the items from finance and public safety. The meeting is now concluded.